Good morning, everyone. Virgo here. It is June 17th, 2019. Once again, just flying through the month. Okay, so this morning we are going to be talking about a gentleman by the name of David Wynn Miller. You are actually looking at a photograph of David when he was in his younger days. Rumor has it that David passed away last year on June 22nd, 2018. However, no one's actually really been able to confirm that. Now, I've been getting a lot of questions with regards to David Wynn Miller and his very interesting way of speaking. And we're going to be going into this mathematically based variation of the English language pretty heavily in this video. But before I do that, I want to go ahead and show you the first couple of minutes of one of his seminars that will give you a good indication of just where we're going with this.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Well, as you know, my name is David Wynn Miller, but I punctuate my name. George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, Benjamin Franklin, all punctuated the name same as I did. They were all 34-degree Master Masons. Now, I don't know if there's any Masons in the crowd, but I am a 92nd degree Mason. I know you've been taught that Masonry goes to 33 and 34 degrees for Grand Masters. The reason I'm a 92nd degree Mason is because in 1988 I broke the math interface in all 5,000 languages, proving that language is a linear equation in algebra. This hasn't been done in 8,500 years of written language. When I did so, I was able to unlock the 2/3 of all the words missing from all languages in the world, and I can write any sentence in any language frontwards and backwards with the same meaning. Once this was discovered, it completely, 48 hours after I published on the internet, I had 2 Secret Service agents from Washington at my front door going, "Do you realize what you've done? You've just disqualified every treaty, trust, and contract in 8,500 years on planet Earth." I says, "Well," he says, "who did you tell?" I says, "Everyone." I says, "I sent out 100 videos, 20 hours long, including a 100-page report on the entire studies, to all nations of the United Nations and over 100 TV and news agencies around the United States." By doing that, I protected myself, because when you have a secret that is so profound that it would disqualify planet Earth, it would cause you to get shot. And at every seminar, by the end of the seminar, there's always a dozen people that walk up to you and say, "Why are you still walking around?" Well, as Pandora, destroyer of worlds. Now, you might think that that's a bad thing. The word destroyer, D-E means no, and stroy is contract. Of is an adverb which connects to a pronoun in front of it. P-R-O means no, N-O means no, and U-N means no. So the word destroyer is a no, no, no word. Of is an adverb, A-D-V. It's a modifier. Modifiers connect the pronouns in front of it and modify the verb after it. Modification is change, change is motion, motion is action, and action is verb. Therefore, the word world becomes a verb. Do you live in a world of verb, or do you live in a world of a fact? As you all know, the word world is a fact. But because it's the destroyer of verb, I destroyed the world of verb in all 5,000 languages worldwide on April 6th, 1988.
So some interesting things with regards to David Wynn Miller. Number one, he's a self-proclaimed judge, and he is not just any old judge. First, he was a Superior Court judge, and then a Postal Court judge, and then he proclaimed himself to be a judge of the world. He prefers to be called a tax avoidant activist who claims exemption from income tax liability on dubious grounds of lack of jurisdictional applicability. And that's due to grammar. So this whole scenario is going to be very different from what you guys have experienced in me talking about these sovereign citizen types in the past. David Wynn Miller is a different kind of character, but it's one that all of you need to be aware of that are doing studying on this. And the reason why you need to be aware of it is because you're going to see very shortly here where people have cherry-picked what Mr. Miller has said to use as they choose to use it. So let me give you one of those instances. Overstanding versus understanding. Yeah. Here we go. Miller, who styles his name with colons and a hyphen as it's you almost have to see it written this way. But it's colon David hyphen Wynn, W-Y-N-N, full colon Miller. He's the originator of an incoherent ideology that evokes a supposedly mathematically based variation of the English language, as I said. Among his claims is that he discovered the mathematical interface in the truth that certifies all 5,000 languages. He also claims that every word has at least 900 meanings, and I will be taking you to an article or a web page that you can read with regards to that. Now, this gets really in depth, seriously in depth. This guy was into this for 38 years. He had a tremendous amount of information that he put out online, and he did a lot of webinars. He once introduced himself at a seminar by saying, "My name is David Wynn full colon Miller." Full colon Miller. He believes that inserting punctuation into one's name changes one's legal status. It's a common pseudo-law practice. Specifically, he believes that this turns one into a prepositional phrase as opposed to a citizen, and thus exempts them from having to pay any income tax. Similarities to some of Jared Lee Loughner's disgruntled writings and YouTube videos focused on international attention on Miller's strange connotations in January of 2011. Now, for those of you that do not remember, that is the person that was the shooter at the Gabrielle Gifford shooting. We'll go into that in just a moment. Miller appears in courts around the world on behalf of others, claiming to be a judge eligible to practice anywhere on the planet. He makes assertions such as that the dots between the words, the motto on the New South Wales coat of arms in a court mean that the court has no jurisdiction. Judges are more patient with him than they probably should be. That's very obvious. But many have tried to use Miller's methods, which unfortunately have netted a lot of losses. There actually isn't anybody who has won using any of Miller's supposed nonsense, supposed syntax grammar that he has put out there. There is one gentleman that succeeded in putting legally a colon in his name, but as far as winning any kind of tax arguments or arguments pertaining to legalities, they've all been losers. Some have even gone to prison for arguing in this manner, as it's considered frivolous documentation again. Some of the court cases that I was able to take a look at, these are some of the things that the judges had to say when people argued with these arguments. The plaintiff's action against the defendant is for a debt alleged due for a computer system and accessories. It is difficult to describe the nature of the defense or the counterclaim. The counterclaim consists of 97 paragraphs over 26 pages. It was apparently drafted by a friend of the defendant, Mr. Shadler, who has a somewhat idiosyncratic approach to English grammar. For instance, he has deconstructed the outline of the defendant by counterclaim prepared for this hearing, breaking it down into its parts of speech according to the helpful code he endorsed on the outline. The three personal names forming the title of the defendant law firm, Douglas, Sims, and Brissenden, are respectively an adjective, a pronoun, and another pronoun. Now, Miller's 9.5 hour YouTube video is going to be in the description of this video. He did this September of 2012. It's called Quantum Grammar Seminar. It includes many interesting assertions, such as, here we go, guys. C4 is a plastic explosive, and that this means it explodes everything made of plastic. And all bombs that were dropped on Pearl Harbor had $1 postage stamps on them so that the Postmaster General of Honolulu could legally deliver them.
And I respected that because I'm a green person. So, now you know what happened here. This was a condition. Oklahoma was number 1. Waco was number 2. Well, Waco was first, then Oklahoma, then this one. Just like World War II was allowed to take place, bombing of Pearl Harbor, you need a crime big enough so that people yell rape. This was a crime big enough to suspend your rights and make everybody a victim of terror. Question?
Hiroshima and Nagasaki, what was that control to?
What?
Population control in World War II?
For what?
For Hiroshima and Nagasaki when the A-bomb was dropped?
Okay. In World War II, all the bombs dropped in Pearl Harbor had $1 airmail stamps put on them just to make it legal to deliver the postage to the Postmaster General of Honolulu, Hawaii on December 7th, 1941.
If you don't want to watch all 9.5 hours, the first 2 minutes that I showed you previously pretty much sums up what it is that he thinks of himself and all of the claims that he makes, including being supposedly a 92nd degree Freemason, as you guys heard, and in addition to that, the King of Hawaii. Yes. So I wanted to show you guys some things. One of the things that I wanted to show you is over here with regards to the Gabrielle Gifford incident. Okay, so I'm not going to go into this entire article. I'm just going to show you that Gabrielle Gifford shooting gunman linked to grammar judge, and what the person they're talking about is David Wynn Miller. And this talks about how the investigators that were seeking to discover Jared Loughner and his, paranoid delusions and everything led them to discover David Wynn Miller and the fact that David Wynn Miller was someone he followed very heavily. This is going to be in the link of the video, or the link will be, in the description of this video. If I can ever speak this morning, you guys might understand what I'm saying. This is a really interesting thing to read if you really want to dig into this. Now, let me just say that the reason that I even decided to do a video on David Wynn Miller is because I've gotten numerous questions with regards to what the heck is this syntax grammar stuff. This parse, syntax grammar, what are they talking about? And the reason why is because we have got a group of individuals that use social media like a weapon. And these alt-right players will actually drag in different pieces of information from different areas. So what's going to happen is you'll have one person that considers themselves a guru, they're selling packages, and they're taking little pieces of Winston Shrout, little pieces of David Wynn Miller. They're taking little pieces of Bruce Duchette. They're taking little pieces of Anna von Reitz. They're putting it all together, slathering it with their own BS, and then selling it to you in a package. And inadvertently, just through me going into a lot of these different websites and watching different webinars that these people are doing and trying to sell, I'm finding more and more speckled, we'll say just sugar-coated, with this David Wynn Miller stuff. And I've got more questions coming in because of that. For a while, Mark Christopher was really the only one who was actually doing a lot of pushing with regards to the David Wynn Miller stuff. He is a con artist like you would not believe. This man literally has done so much scamming, it's unbelievable. But that's going to be a totally different video. We're going to be talking about Mark Christopher at some point here. He's still around. He's got several YouTube channels, and he's selling people like crazy every single day. It's really rather scary. Over here, we have the language log, and I'm going to be adding this to the description also for you guys to read. This is talking about all words have 900 definitions. This was actually put up in 2010, gives you a good indication of what occurs when someone like David Miller walks into a courtroom. And this is exchange between him and a judge in New South Wales Supreme Court. It's very interesting to read. It gives you an indication of how delusional he is. It's just something that I think psychologically is a good thing for you guys to really pay attention to, where he is at in terms of his psychological makeup, we'll put it that way. I'm going to put a lot of additional links under here for you guys that are really interested in this, because it is kind of a strange phenomenon. This is something that you haven't seen under normal circumstances with this group of people. This person literally took a language and built upon that language this crazy ideology that makes virtually no sense whatsoever to anyone except for him, but somehow sold it to lots of people for about $1,400 a webinar. And I'll also have underneath the description of this video the links to the 9.5-hour webinar that you can watch for yourself, and the links to a David Pakman from the David Pakman Show, the last interview, as far as I know, that was done with David Wynn Miller, that I was able to find anyway, which I believe was back in 2014, something around there. And it also really gives you indication in terms of, you know, how narcissistic he was. He honestly believed he was the king of Hawaii. He talks about I can't even describe it. You guys just have to watch it for yourself. This video would be 2 hours long if I kept going. If you want me to go more into detail about this person, I'd be more than happy to, but I wanted to give you guys an outline, give you the opportunity to actually look at some of this stuff yourself. I think you're going to find it to be rather interesting, and I'm hoping that you will look into it, because this is how serious these delusions can actually get. And like I said, this man did this for 38 years, never won one single case. No one who ever used it won a case. As a matter of fact, several people actually served time because of using this and not letting it go. One woman had to have a psychiatric evaluation before she was released from the court. You know, it's a serious situation, and you'll find that all of these gurus are starting to dapple. I'll say dapple. They're dappling their ideology with some of his language. So, again, doing this video mainly because I've been questioned with regards to Mark Christopher, and in order to understand Mark Christopher, you must understand David Wynn Miller. So, questions or comments, please feel free to leave them. I am going to link everything in the description for you. There will be a lot there for you to look at. And I look forward to talking to you guys again tomorrow about all of this and looking back into history some more and pulling up some more people that you guys will find equally as interesting as David Wynn Miller is. All right, you guys have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.